In the late 1970s, tabletop role-playing was still deeply tethered to its roots in tactical wargaming. Early adventure modules followed the funhouse dungeon model, linear, disconnected obstacle courses designed primarily to test player skill and neutralize their characters. This created a specific loop. Players kicked down a door, fought a monster that had no logical reason to be in that room, looted the gold, and moved to the next door on the map. But the player base was maturing. They began to crave a cohesive secondary reality, a world that felt lived in rather than a series of combat puzzles. Lenard Lakofka was at the center of this shift. He was a prolific playtester who ran a detailed home campaign for years, stress testing his own setting with a dedicated group of players. At the time, TSR, the publisher of Dungeons & Dragons, was navigating a chaotic corporate landscape. The company was flush with cash, but lacked a formal structure for product development. In 1981, TSR paid Lakofka $10,500 to publish his homebrew module. At roughly 10,000 words long, Lakofka was earning over $1 per word, a rate virtually unheard of in the hobby then or now. This commission produced The Secret of Bonehill. It was a 32-page booklet that ignored the standard tournament structure and attempted to simulate a functioning region. The shift was visible on the map. Lakofka moved away from the alphanumeric grid system, where rooms were just numbers, and began labeling buildings and locations directly on the paper. This cartographic choice forced dungeon masters to present the town of Restenford organically. Players were nudged to inhabit a physical place rather than just clear a geometric grid. To navigate the town, players had to use a table of over 30 distinct rumors. The text forced them to parse absolute truths, partial truths, and outright lies. This meant the primary challenge wasn't just combat, it was social investigation. Players had to engage with named NPCs who had their own daily routines, moral ambiguities, and hidden agendas. By building the experience around information asymmetry, Lakofka refocused the game on deduction and roleplay, rather than simple tactical simulation. Outside the town, the module employed Gygaxian Naturalism. The wilderness wasn't a static backdrop, it was an ecosystem defined by diurnal and nocturnal shifts. Bonehill was occupied by bugbears during the day, but at night it was ceded to level-draining undead. This forced players to manage time as a limited resource or face escalating consequences. Lakofka included probabilities for mundane events, like a 40% chance a woodland animal, like a fox or raccoon, would approach to beg for food. This focus on realism was so specific that it sparked a quiet rebellion in the art department. Artist Errol Otis, who preferred weird fantasy, protested by deliberately painting a bizarre hydra with comically tiny wings on the back cover. Despite bag friction, these granular mechanics proved that a fictional world could feel biologically alive, functioning entirely on its own logic. When players reached the center of the mystery, they found that the secret of Bonehill wasn't a cosmic threat. It was a series of hidden history layers. The physical reward was simply a magic ring, hidden in a lead-lined compartment specifically designed to block magical detection. There was no world-ending plot to stop. The module lacked a ticking clock, a monologuing villain, or a singular quest giver pushing the players toward a scripted finale. This removed the pressure of a cinematic arc and placed the motivation on the journey itself. It demonstrated that if an environment is dense enough with detail, the act of exploration becomes the primary reward. The Secret of Bonehill showed that a dungeon master could create a compelling experience without forcing players down a pre-written linear path. By providing a deeply simulated, unmotivated environment, the module allowed players to generate their own goals and emergent stories. This focus on geographic detail and player agency established the structural framework for the expansive, setting-heavy supplements that would define the hobby for the next decade.